Hello, hello. Welcome
Hey
to the Social
everyone.
Social Club. Christina's not wearing her shirt.
I'm
That's
not.
okay.
It's because I'm in Canada and it's cold. So I had to opt out of the t-shirt today. Um
Fair.
hey everyone. I'm not seeing the chat right now because I am sharing my screen. So welcome. It's so good to have y'all. I know that there has been a lot happening this morning, and I'll share a little bit more on that later. I'm super excited. There's been a lot going on, and I'm pumped about it. Um, Oh, I can see the chat now. Tell us where you're joining from, where you're coming from, where you work, why you're here, if you've been here before. If this is your first time, obviously say hello. It's super cool to have you. We've got Toronto people, we've got NYC, we've got Oakland, California, Georgia. That's so fun. Georgia, the country, Eric. That's crazy. Yeah.
We should host an event there next.
Event in Georgia coming up. Welcome,
Denver,
everybody.
Sweden. Wow. You think you're cold, Christina.
Cool, cool, cool. Oh my gosh, so many people all over the world. Well, welcome. Feel free to drop in your LinkedIn
Ooh.
links as well to connect with others. This is a great place to connect and really just get to know your community. We're so excited for this Social Club. Let me just walk you through a little bit about what the Social Club is if you haven't been here before. We've not really done kind of a formal intro. So this is going to be a little bit of a more formal intro. We'll fly through the slides here. So what is the Social Club all about anyways? This is a place to learn from real world experts and ask them questions live. You're going to get an opportunity to ask questions to our panelists. We've had awesome questions in the past, and we love getting our audience engaged here. So questions are the place to go. Ask your questions, and our panelists will try to get to your answers or to answer your questions as well. This is a place to connect with social pros from all different areas together. We all work in social and we may work in different areas, but this is a place to connect with each other and really learn from each other. And then also, this is a place to grow your ideas, your strategy, and your network. Your network is so important, especially for career growth and just learning about what's out there. So the more we share, the better we get at this job. Something exciting happened this morning. I don't know if you got the email. If you didn't, sign up to our email list. But if you didn't, we launched our Slack community this morning. Um, if you have joined our Slack community this morning, shout out in the chat here. We've had about 40 or 50 people join so far. We've gotten tons of intros. And the reason we created this Slack community is truly because this was a place designed for social pros to get together past just the Social Club webinars that happen once a month. We wanted to keep the conversation going. So we've heard time and time again, like, how can we connect with everybody? This is the place to do so. So scan that QR code. I'll make sure to drop the link in the chat a little bit later, the invitation link, and feel free to introduce yourself in that Slack channel after the chat. And obviously there's going to be a lot of post-webinar discussion happening there as well. So we're going to see you there after this webinar. Another thing that we're very excited about is that we have a giveaway. We love our t-shirts. T-shirts are super fun and they're super soft. And we're going to have Isabel talking about them shortly. So Isabel's here in the chat. We wanted to do a Social Club community highlight with Isabel. Isabel, I'm going to take you off mute here. I'm going to have to stop sharing my screen quickly. I'm going to take you off mute and I want you to tell us a little bit about your experience in this community. So let me just figure out how to do that. Isabel, are you here? Yes, she is. Okay, Isabel, come off mic and tell us a little bit about what it's been like to be a part of the Social Club community.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Isabel. I've been going to the social guys. I don't even know how I found this out. I think I just saw a random LinkedIn post and I was like, oh, this is cool, and joined. And then I was like, oh my goodness, this is actually more than cool. This is amazing. I love joining every month. The topics are super timely and interesting always. I always learn a lot. I also have I work for a very small company. We have a very small marketing team. So it's nice to just kind of expand and hear from other marketers and not kind of get outside your little bubble. I find that that's just super, super important. And then, yeah, then of course you have a chance to win a t-shirt. I'm wearing mine right now. It's super soft. I wear it daily. I swear you all, it's probably my favorite t-shirt I own. I work from home and I wear it like all the time. But yeah, I just love this community. Everybody's so nice. Everybody has so many great insights. And I also gain a lot of insights on new tools as well. And just like different ways of thinking about different aspects of social. I'm really excited for today's session on organic, especially. That's going to be super cool. So yeah, it's just nice to see you all, and I join the Slack. Super excited to meet you all in the Slack as well, in the Slack community.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Isabel, thank you so much.
Thanks,
It was
Isabel.
super awesome to have you be a part of our community every month. So if you haven't followed Isabel, she does awesome recaps on the Social Club every month. So make sure to follow her on LinkedIn. And in order to enter the t-shirt giveaway, all you've got to do is ask a question in our chat. And that's you basically agreeing that you're going to come off mic and ask a question to our panelists. So make sure to ask your questions in the chat. And yes, the webinar will be recorded and sent to your inboxes tomorrow morning. So before we kick off, I'll let Eric kind of give a little intro to himself and what Slate is, and then we'll start introing our panelists for our theme on organic social. I'll see you in the chat, and
Cool.
I'll talk to you at the end, everyone.
Thanks, Christina. And thanks, Isabel. Yeah, if you don't follow Isabel on LinkedIn, you have to, because right after every webinar, she does an amazing carousel recap. So follow her on LinkedIn. Thank you again, Isabel. Okay, so quick housekeeping right before we announce our guests. If this is your first social club, we like to make this super interactive. So if you ask a question through the Q&A section of Zoom, you may get called on, just like, Isabel just now, to kind of unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group and actually ask your question directly. If you don't want to be called out to actually unmute yourself and ask the question live, you can just kind of mention that in your question or ask the question directly through the chat instead of through the Q&A section. But we'll kind of assume anyone in the Q&A section might be okay with that. So yeah, we really like to make this kind of a group conversation, and it seems to go really well, and we want you all to be part of this conversation. So quick intro on myself. If you don't know me, I'm Eric. I'm co-founder of Slate. Helped start Slate about 6 years ago, and at the time I was doing social for the NFL and really felt like there was a tool missing for content creation for social teams. So we set out to build an all-in-one creation platform for social teams. And we're working with a ton of brands across categories now in that platform. Cool. So let's get to the heart of it here and introduce our expert panel. Super excited about the group we got together here today to talk any and all things organic social. We'll see how much we can get to. I'm sure at this point, 52 minutes is going to fly by. But as we do here, we're going to do some ChatGPT AI assisted introductions. So first guest I'm going to bring on is Ian Evans. ChatGPT calls him a B2B comedian that we didn't know we needed. Ian Evans does organic social at TLDV, turning your chaos calls into highlight reels since forever. Through his skits, he nails what it's like to work in marketing today while making videos that are enjoyable and shamelessly plug your product. Ian, how did ChatGPT do introing yourself there?
8 out of 10. Yeah.
Great to have you. Why don't you give us a proper intro that ChatGPT could never do?
I work on the organic social team at TLDV. So it's a lot of TikToks, a lot of reels, a lot of shorts. And recently we've been going all in on LinkedIn video, which I know is kind of controversial these days. We all have a love-hate relationship with that one.
Amazing. Yeah, great to have you here. One of my favorite follows on LinkedIn. If you don't follow Ian, you must. Okay, next up we have Michael Corcoran from Slice Social, ex-Ryanair. You may have seen his work. This is according to ChatGPT. You may have seen his work if you've ever been roasted by an airline on Twitter. Michael is the founder of Slice Social and formerly led social media at Ryanair, where he helped redefine what it means for a brand to have personality online. Michael, give us a proper intro.
Hello. How are we? Yeah, I think it sums it up. There's more to me than being one of the dudes behind Ryanair. Yeah, look, I had the privilege of building and running a team of 8 people who delivered maybe one of the the most interesting approaches to social in the last 3 or 4 years. Certainly a lot of people have learned a lot from the talking plane and the big green owl. So I'm very lucky to be part of that journey and milking every bit of that legacy I can with my consultancy now.
Amazing. Yeah, great to have you on, Michael. Another favorite follow of mine on LinkedIn. All right, last but definitely not least, Samantha Yehle, from baby blowouts to beauty routines. Sam knows what it takes to make a brand everybody's talking about. She's the head of social at Nara Organics and formerly ran social at Frida Baby, where she helped turn relatable parent chaos into viral gold. I kind of like that. Sam?
I love it. I have no idea where beauty came into the equation. Take it. I will take it.
Awesome. And congrats on the new role. How's it been starting at a startup?
It has been great. So this is week 3 now, so very much still in the phase of sort of like, understanding where we are and sort of assessing what we can do from a content standpoint, but super excited. And just like a shout to any social media folks out there who had like a career pivot. I'm one of those people. So it was like a unexpected pivot 2 years ago when we launched our TikTok. So I feel like a very similar story that I've heard many people tell before. So I am not an expert. I always say like you're learning every single day, but I'm super excited to be here and join all you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Great group we have. During the tech check, we were talking a little bit about like what are some of the topics that we really want to cover here. And Michael, I think you said trends, 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 trends. And you mentioned the need for a different perspective on trend participation. So I wanted to start there and just kind of let you sound off a little bit on trends, whether brands should approach trends uniformly, how brands should approach trends, what you like, what you don't like. Let's kick off organic social with talking about trends. Michael?
Oh, you want me to rant already? This is great. I mean, give me two more trends and a Ric Flair who to go. Look, I think we're coming to a stage in social where back 3 or 4 years ago, when Ryanair and a few other brands started to ride this wave of identifying patterns of repeated formats and content happening on For You pages. And if you, again, did an interpretation or copy that through the TikTok feed, you tend to rode this wave because the platforms fed that trend to lots of people, which garnered lots and lots of views. But we've come to this kind of stage, I think, in the journey now that so many teams have the license and a little bit more freedom to jump and move faster when it comes to moments on the internet, that it's almost created this saturation of trends. And what's happening is the life cycle of a trend is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And we all know that brands are guilty of the second too many brands come to a moment, we kill the party. Cue pineapple meme. And what ends up happening is then who is really winning when it comes to trends anymore? Because the platforms will eat it up because you are filling the feed with lots of content. The viewer is actually consuming the trends and enjoying it with this kind of what I would call low barrier entertainment, and then receiving a low barrier engagement, a like or their eyeballs for that moment in time. But are the brands winning or are the brands being memorable? That's the question I have right now that we really need to unpack. I think right now, because it's so saturated, the chances are the platforms are winning because they're maintaining attention. The users are winning because they're getting that easy brain rot entertainment on tap. But if you actually ask the viewers and actually try and test this, could they name a series of brands and what was the message for specific trends? I don't know whether they could probably answer that, which means we have a problem, because our job is to build brands and be memorable when it comes to what we do in a very kind of simplistic view. And if we're not doing that, but yeah, we're sure we're getting 1 million views and it looks great on a screenshot in a report, and we can all high five each other because we've beat the system that can be almost beaten quite easily if you're disruptive enough. But are we being remembered? I don't think so. So I think it's coming to a moment where I think we really need to start looking about all the other lovely things that are happening on these platforms now where we can build attention. Does that mean we all stop using trends? No, not at all. I think decisions need to be made on the right moment. And also, a little thing I've started to get better at is, rather than seeing a moment on the internet and reacting to it in the same way everybody else is doing, ask the question, what has driven that trend? not simply copy the trend. Which means if you take a step back, there might be other moments where beyond even just making a video interpretation, you could unlock something really, really good. And I'll give you an example. Like there are quotes that could come from Lindsay Lohan around a Freaky Friday, because recently it's now been streamed on Netflix again in preparation for the remake. Those clips, those memes, they're all starting to appear at a higher volume, but people will normally default to simply using the sound without exploring why it's actually trending in the first place. And if you then take a step back and look, well, then if you see that's happening, well, maybe there's something we can do bigger, because if there's so many more people now binging on Freaky Friday because it's being showcased or listed or in the top 10 on Netflix, you might be able to think of a bigger idea that builds around that. And there's lots of others too. I think Labubu was another one. So like Labubu, everybody just started to clip a shagging Labubu to every product that they could. And then that's me in the trend. But if you take a step back, people are saying Labubus are a sign of the recession about to come. It was a bit like when trolls became popular many, many years ago. And thankfully, I have a hat on because you can't see my gray hair right now. But it just goes to taking an extra step to use the trends in the right way, and or spot patterns that once you see a pattern before everyone else, you might be able to insert yourself into that moment where you can own it a bit more than everybody else.
I'll also add there, Michael, because I think we're in the same camp on trends and sort of like brands and like when and how frequently. And I see there was an argument made recently on LinkedIn where somebody said you can't argue with the numbers because when brands jump on these trends, that's when they see their top posts. But I think like a way to think about it is like, whose brand are you really building? Are you building your own, or are you building the memed account? Or like Taylor Swift, for example, are you building your brand or are you building Taylor's brand? And I think, you know, a counterpoint to that might be, well, our fans love it. Your fans might, but if it's going mega viral, you are reaching beyond your audience. And when that audience, that broad audience who has no idea who you are, when they're seeing, to your point, the same meme or similar memes from all these accounts, there's a very low likelihood that they're going to remember you, look into you, go to your profile, see who you are as a brand. So I think that's kind of the other idea to it. Like you said, I think vanity metrics is one thing. And I think you can justify a lot of things. And I don't think you never do trends, but just keep that in mind and understand when you jump on those, even if it's a quick thing, you are taking your attention away from content that is fully ownable and unique. So, you know, it's complicated, but I definitely, I think it's something to be pondered on.
I think that challenge is really, really good, by the way, because it made me think even more, because I'm being very simplistic here, because there are probably certain brands and certain categories where those moments work. Because if you're a fast food brand or an FMCG brand where like it's because it's so saturated and you've got so much competition, it is a race to the simplistic memorability, or to be again physically or sorry mentally available for people. And being on those moments all the time isn't necessarily a bad thing either for brands who just need basic mental availability. So I see where the opportunity lies with that. The other one, which I start to unpack, I think, over the last couple of weeks as well, is it's no harm if some of your other content is delivering the work you need to solve some sort of problem your strategy sets out. And again, love him or hate him, the reference I give him, Gary V, is that jab hook language he uses. And we did this at Ryanair, that the whole point of us jumping on trends was to land this big right hook every time that landed. We got visibility to low engaged users, people who may not have seen us or our content before. And again, not knowing the algorithms, it kind of gives you a window of opportunity that if that person watches it through, physically engages with it, it might open up the feed for another piece of your content either that day or a couple of days later to be exposed to that person. So again, if you're using it as a vehicle to just get lots of reach, but following up with equally good messaging and good content that is actually trying to solve something, well, then that's a good rationalization to maybe still use them.
Spot on.
100%. I would say, I think naturally we're a little trend averse because we've built a very we already have our regular content, what people expect from us. But if we are going to jump on a trend, I want to go above and beyond, because like Michael, you said with the pineapple meme, whether you're too far into a trend or not, you're a brand and nobody wants to see you do a trend from the start. So if you're going to do it and then some, and over deliver and twist it and make it weird and wait till people are bored of it and then jump on it if you're going to go all out. Otherwise, I try not to touch them.
Yeah,
I
like
also, oh, sorry.
go, go
Michael, I was
ahead.
just gonna add, like, I think like an interesting lens for it too is like, what do you as a social media manager or content creator want to be famous for? Do you want to be famous for doing something that everybody does, although with like a unique spin? Or do you want to create the next great social series? Or do you want to be known for educational content or like whatever it is? And I think that's also like the place where you put your energy is what you're going to grow and develop. So I think that's also something, you know, like I think of the accounts that I love and admire the most. They're the ones who are doing social TV shows, which I know we're going to talk about, but like Brooklyn Coffee
Mm.
Shop, they might talk about things that are trending, but they're doing it in such a smart, unique way,
Yes,
like
that's it.
ownable and fun. So it's like, I think that's part of it is like, what do you want to be famous for?
Completely. And I know this is such a boring thing, and I'm so repetitive and at the point of probably nauseating people. It goes back to having a strategy. It's like, why are you doing this in the first place? Like, what are you trying to achieve? If is basic awareness, where all you need is simple mental availability. So when they're at the point of purchase, there's a chance they'll remember you. Off you go. But if your problem is actually rooted in a difficult thing where you need to change perception or you need them to take a certain action, well, I don't know if trends is going to do it. And like the absence of strategy is making us guilty of leaning towards trends because we see other brands doing it. So we must copy. And I think the fear is it's making everybody just try and race against each other to be the fastest team in social rather than actually trying to build a brand. Oh, by the way, I
Yeah,
love Brooklyn coffee too.
They're so
yeah,
good.
100%.
So
I
good.
feel like, and maybe, I feel like there's a good spectrum, probably from Michael to Sam to Ian, then to me, of like big brand to like small brand, right? Of when you're at Ryanair, and then there's Frida, and then TLDV, and like Slate, like probably the smallest company of that group. It feels like the smaller you are, in some ways, the less pressure and the more obvious it is why you wouldn't want to hop on trends, right? And it's kind of to your point, Sam, and yours, Ian, of like, well, what do you want to be known for? It's like when you're kind of a challenger brand and you don't have a following, no one's expecting, who are you making like a meme or a trend for? But when you run social for the 49ers or Ryanair, you feel like you're in this group of big brands that need to be a part of every conversation. And that makes there's more pressure even internally of like, hey, why aren't we doing anything with this? I see this all over my feed, or our competitors did this. So it's kind of a unique position. And it, like, the smaller you are, the more challenger you are. To your point, Michael, it's like less and less of a reason to do trends because you're trying to define yourself as an individual brand and no one knows you yet. And that's not
Yeah.
necessarily good.
And it's why I must hat tip to Samantha. We're at our time at Frida, and Frida is one of the brands whenever I get asked who does a really good job on social, and Frida did an exceptional job because, again, if I could try and reverse engineer what Samantha was trying to do was, talking about postpartum issues, the realities of being a new mom and having young kids growing up. It's normally a taboo subject, and it's not pretty at times, and it's a difficult journey for new moms to go on that. It becomes a challenge that you can't talk about these things on the internet. But Frida works so hard at breaking down those barriers around postpartum and the realities of, mums just after having children, that the reality is breastfeeding is a love or hate experience. That the fact that I have to wear big pants because I can barely hold my shit together because I'm just after pushing a little human out of me. Making that real and acceptable reduces that barrier, and particularly for dads or other people who would normally turn their eye at it. And it's a bit like period product brands. You're reducing those barriers and doing an exceptional job of breaking that stigma and making it just a common conversation and an okay conversation to be had. Like Frida didn't need to go like lip sync or do some sort of dance to, Soda Pop from Netflix. They had a job to do, which was that, and they did an exceptional job of it.
Thank God. Thank God we didn't have to lip sync or dance. But thank you, Michael. That's like so kind. But I think that's exactly it, is like we we figured out, and like there were a couple moments here and there where we jumped on a, on a meme. I remember after Met Gala, we had like a really good one that, performed great. We were fast to it or whatever. But in general, we went where the numbers were and what the data told us. And the data was telling us that our unique approach to content and to video content in particular and educational content, like that was giving us the numbers we needed. So we didn't really need to explore. And also we're a small team. So I think that's the other thing too, is like, how many people do you have? And I'll actually throw like a huge wrench in this conversation because I just saw on LinkedIn last week, I can't remember the woman's name, but she just got hired by a brand on the social media team specifically as a meme specialist. So like that's really exciting to me because that shows like that brand wants to make memes a core part of their strategy. They're dedicating resources and a person to really inject a unique POV and creativity into it. So who knows what like the future of social and trends could be. But I think like that's a really interesting career path, first of all, but it's a great move from a brand. So like, I think a lot of these things are so subjective to the company, the brand, your strategy on social, but whoever that is, I don't know if anybody knows the person by name, but I was like, wow, like go do it. Go get your meme.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that transitions well to a question from Carmen, friend of the pod. Carmen, you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi guys, Carmen here, reporting for duty. So in almost all of like the private communities I'm in with other social media folks, we talk a lot about being like a team of one and how hard that is. And organic social, I think, is our main lever. And I would love to hear your expert perspectives on how to do the most with the least as a team of one and how to, make an impact and show that impact to the broader org when it's just you, yourself, and your other self.
Oh, I think we're all trauma bonding a little on this call now based on that question, reliving triggering experiences as that social team one. By the way, hi Carmen, love you. Yeah, like to me, again, I know I will keep saying it, but once you understand your why, you then can build the building blocks and the processes to get there. Because the fear is you're going to try and do it all. You want to be the trends jumper, you want to be the brand builder with repeatable formats, you want to be the meme queen, you want to do all of this and be the best community manager. Where the reality, it is not doable. It might be doable on one or two platforms where you have complete carte blanche control of what you do and you don't have layers of approval. What I used to teach and what I always teach people is to understand where is your ceiling and what you can do. And normally a good ratio, especially in corporate jobs, like if you're not operating at 70% of your time is in execution mode, 20% is on coordination and 10% is on growth and development, you're probably already at problems because you're probably spending too much time in meetings and not even executing or ideating content. So you need to get those boundaries and safeguards in straight away so you actually can maximize your time in doing the actual work. The next then is building systems. And one of the systems we used to build back then in Ryanair and previous, and I teach, is called the Banger Bank. Because for some reason, people think that once you post one piece of content, it's done, you can never use it again. That is not true. TV ads for years have been putting TV ads up on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. Why? Because that's how they land their message and drive recall. But for some reason, a month's worth of content is done and you can never use it again because it's on the internet. That's not true. We built a system where even with a small team, and we actually started with stock imagery and South Park puppet style animation from Fiverr to try and start to build the ideas and test and learn and grow before we had the team. But we built a system where we built a bank of content where once you hit that bank and got to a certain number, you started to recycle that content, which allowed you to do two things. You either then reduce the amount you made on your production cycle to focus on quality, or you free up time to now tackle another part of your roadmap and actually building it more execution on the channels. And you can do that in so many ways where it's just simply making enough volume of video to get there, or another way is every time you make one piece of film, you actually always record 8 extra hooks. And that could be a text hook, a different open frame, and you turn one video into 10 videos. And then if you're doing that on a weekly basis, now you start to build your bank in your system. And you might get to a point where you build a bank of 250 videos. And now you start to recycle that content. And now you've got a system going where you test, learn, iterate, improve, tweak, and now you've freed up time to go on to something else. And that's where you can start then building the building blocks of actually building a system or something really, really strong with just one person.
Michael, let me ask this back, not ask, it's kind of like, I feel like proving the point of like, should you invest your time and energy into trends or memes, or build your own unique, whether it is like, to your point, you guys were building sort of like memes, but they were not things that were trending necessarily.
Correct.
When you have a piece of content that goes viral once, you can post it again, but not if it was a trend that was like very specifically about a moment in time. Like no one's going to repost their Taylor Swift orange glitter meme in a year.
Correct.
If you build that unique series, or, you know, whatever it is, that evergreen content can be reused. So that again, I think is like, do you want to build a thing that's like, you know, fleeting, or do you want to build a thing that can last and can go the distance?
It's so smart and so true. And I'll give you an example. Like, I think we posted a piece of video minimum 6 times over a year's period to get the most out of it. And a few things happen. The first time you might post it, it just wasn't your day on that feed. It could be a good idea, but for some reason, the queen of country and pop gets engaged to an NFL footballer, and now the whole internet is covered in that, which means that the post you posted that day is not going to get the reach. That doesn't mean it was a bad video. So if you keep reposting, there's a chance it's going to be seen and it gets the views that it deserves. The second is there's a compounding effect of building consistency on social. So once you start building frequency, consistency, whatever the amount, there's a compounding effect that in time you're going to get more reach and more views. So that first video might get 2,000 views. The next time you post it in 16 weeks time, it could get 4,000 views. And then it gets maybe 6,000 views. And by the time you get it through the system, the return on investment of your time and energy and the views of that video has absolutely exploded. So there's just so many ways that we're missing the mark by not building systems to create, you know, efficiencies, to test, learn, play, and free up time to do other things. Because if not, we're just always this agile social media person chasing the next hit, and we have no control.
Yeah, I would jump, like Michael, what you said at the start about being like realistic. Like, I think we all go through these newsletters and social groups and we're like, if a big brand did this, I'm going to do this too. And it's like, hey, babe, you're in your bedroom with an iPhone and you're one person, take 5 minutes. Like, that's not realistic for you.
Mhm.
And even sometimes I'm like, oh, we should start a podcast. Let's do a YouTube. I'll do a newsletter. And it's like, hey, remember that you are a part of a company and maybe you're just running the TikTok, but it works. So stop reinventing, stop feeling the need to be a whole media company. You have a funnel, it delivers, it works. Take 5 seconds and stop, you know? And I think we always want to keep going. And then the other thing is, because TLDV is much more B2B tech, the relation in my head is I always see a social media manager as a product manager. So strategy, optimization, all of that thing. And then the content creator is the developer. Like, head down, leave me alone for 8 hours while I obsessively edit this one TikTok. And even if like it does really well, it doesn't do really well, you've committed all that time, and 3 meetings is going to completely throw you off. Like, you need to just hide yourself from the world.
It's a great example, because this is what I teach teams, and what we used to do as well. We created, like developers do, flow time. So we started to build out what are the basic things we need to do on a daily basis to keep the lights on social. We then, what is the ballpark time we think we can commit to those? And then we commit to those as daily tasks. Then we also introduced 2 sessions of flow time every day, which meant if your headphones are on and it's between the hours of this, please fuck off. Which means that all the bigger projects I need to do, from, you know, looking at the audiences, dealing with my community, creating concepts where I need to craft a script, go shoot something, go edit something, that those flow times were protected in order to try and get that done. Because the bare minimum of keeping the lights on is what we have to do. But unless we fill what goes out, in the best structured way, in a controlled way, in a way that we can put shape and a process to it. And people hate the word process, but to me, process actually makes me faster. And by setting up and over engineering workflows and process, yes, it feels slow at first, but as I get better at it, I find shortcuts and cues and things that can make the process easier or remove steps, which means that I can find efficiencies and I can move faster again and do more without putting pressure on having this unhealthy relationship with the internet. But you're protecting time where you can slow down and get creative.
Absolutely.
I'll add one other thing to Carmen's question about like how do you make the most of being a team of one, because I started as a team of one at Frida, was lucky to develop a team which was incredible, and now at Nara I'm back to being a team of one. And there's like the quote, like, to go fast go alone, but to go far go together. And I truly think there's like an incredible opportunity when you are a team of one. And if you can establish the right trust and buy-in from your leadership to actually operate as a team of one and to have the ability to, make judgment calls, to approve content and just rapidly iterate, you can do so much as a team of one to sort of build that, like, that MVP of what you see your social strategy and team to be. And then from there, like to go far, you need to go together. I think it's not just like you need more people, but it's like you need support on, like, from a mental health standpoint as a social person. Like, yeah, I could keep pumping out video after video after video, but it takes a toll on you. It takes a toll community managing, especially if you're in an industry where there are more trolls or more, strong opinions and stuff. So it's like not even just that you need more people to do the work. It's like that you need to feel like you're part of a team and a group, and that you're all in it together. And I think everybody would probably agree here. It's hard for folks to fully understand the emotional and like psychological impact that social has on us. So it's like when you're feeling that and you need to go shoot a video and have a smiley face and be like, camera ready, that's like really hard to do. There's like a whole emotional roller coaster. So like your manager's like, where's the video? It's like, I need a moment. So I think that's something I try to like keep in mind, is like there's like a great part about being a team of one, but there's also, a lot of reasons why, sort of establishing and growing and sort of proving that social is worth the investment is so important.
100%. Speaking of trolls, mental health, and all the like, we have a question from Nancy Murphy. Nancy, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, hi, thank you. Yes, speaking of trolls, I would love the panel to talk about how they handle negative comments on social media. Like when the comments are cursing at you because of something you said in the video, and what do? We all have different opinions. We could be adults and not drop the F-bomb on someone. Yes, like turn off comments, reply, ignore. What does it do to the algorithm if you ignore or turn off? All of that. Thank you.
Well, it's a difficult one for me because I think we became famous by roasting people on the internet. So maybe not do what Ryanair did is a good start. Yeah, Sam, do you want to go first and then I'll jump on?
Yeah. So I have a lot of experience with this. So kind of Michael's, he alluded to this earlier, but at Frida, Frida is a brand that is very unfiltered and very real and raw in our marketing and sort of like our messaging. And not only that, but a lot of our products are, we had products for babies, for moms, for people who are trying to conceive, trying to have babies. And a lot of these things were like, topics that, aside from like what the products physically do, they relate to cultural conversations that are like highly charged. So we would find ourselves like pretty regularly, getting either, complaints or people being like, what is that product for? I would never, like, how could you? And the way that we approached it was, I think, and this is, social media managers and community managers are not just social people. You're almost like a PR, you're a PR spin machine. And if you, again, I think it's really important to understand messaging and how to direct a conversation. But when you see comments like that come in, think about how can I spin this and direct the conversation in a constructive way where even if they are angry or upset, like it's not about changing their mind, but it's about putting a response or putting your POV into that conversation so that that troll doesn't get, the only share of voice in their comment, And I think TikTok in particular with reply videos, like we did so many reply videos to comments that were angry, rude, inflammatory, and those videos would perform really well because I think your community and the people who believe in you as a brand and as a voice, they will come to your defense, or they will also sort of jump into the fray as well. So I think it's like you have to. I always approach those things in a constructive way. It's like, how can I use this to further our message? But it's hard. It's hard, and it's definitely one where like you need to make sure that, and that's where I think partnering with people, if you have a PR team or a legal team, like always be careful, Michael, to your point, like if you're not a brand that's ready to roast people, or if you're a brand that's in a medical field or a field that's highly regulated, like there's a lot to consider there. But everything is content, even if it's negative.
Yeah,
Everything's a jumping off point for content.
completely. There's a few ways to unpack this. Like obviously there's the housekeeping you need to keep yourself. So obviously your filtered words and your banned words can mitigate a lot of just the unnecessary, unsavory commentary that comes through. Most old school social media channels used to have a set of house rules as well. Not that they hold any value anymore because of how the algorithms work. But there is a reality thing I think we need to be able to do, and that's compartmentalization. Because no matter what you say or do, when you put something out there, it is open for scrutiny, and that's going to happen regardless. People are either going to like the content or they won't. There'll just be people on the internet who are pissed one day where you become their victim. And then you've got to remember little things as well, that if you are using your social media channels for customer experience and customer service, and some people have had a bad experience with the brand that your customer service team are trying to protect and take care of, or they may not have done a very good job of, and they're still disgruntled. If they have engaged with your channel most recently through DMs and everything, there's a high chance that your next few pieces of content are going to be seen by those people, which means you're now triggering that bad experience in their mind again. So they're probably going to say something stupid on your comment section. So aside from that, like the compartmentalization is important because there are just going to be times where people are just going to be shitty on the internet that you just have to ignore. And I think perspective on top of that is an important thing too, that when you look at the performance of the content, and we are all guilty of it, our superiors are all guilty of it too, that one negative comment or remotely close to negative comment takes away the positivity of the whole piece of content in the end, and we all obsess about that. I think that's why the compartmentalization is important, that there will be people who complain, there will be people who will say bad things, but when you look at the big picture and you look at potentially the reach that it's gotten, and the example could be you might be after getting 5,000 views but one comment. 4,999 people who saw that video may have actually enjoyed it and took it for what it's worth. They may not have physically hit the like button or commented, but they have watched and engaged with that video. And when you weigh up that versus the one comment, I think that's where you can compartmentalize, remove, and move on. It's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I would add that I know, and that we all want to be that sassy brand. We all want to be funny and pithy. And even if you have the license to do that and you have the tone of voice, you just can't match them. Like if someone is sassy to me, I have never successfully sassed them back and felt like I won. Even if I'm like, yeah, what I said was accurate and I stand by that, just take the high road, go in with way more grace. You're not going to win no matter what happens. So that's kind of how I approach most hateful comments. And also, if it really is just a hateful comment, then it gets counted towards my engagement and I don't respond to it.
I love that. I think also like there's the quote, like if no one hates what you're doing, no one loves what you're doing. So, as long as what you're doing isn't like rage bait and you're like intentionally trying to like rile people up, having a unique opinion that not everybody will agree with, but some people will, like that's also a really great way to stand out in a crowded space like social. So try to keep that perspective also, like don't take it to heart too much, especially when you see that you have people that are down with whatever, you know, perspective it is that you have. Yeah, there's balance.
There's two banger quotes that triggers. The first one is one by Kobe Bryant, which is "Booze don't block dunks," and that was based on him essentially. If he did not take the shots he took whilst playing basketball because people courtside were booing him, he'd never make all the shots and become an NBA champion and MVP winner. You have to block it out in order to make the shot. The second one I love is, and it's closer to what you said, Sam, is by the founder of Dermalogica, which her name is Jane Woodward. And you've got to piss off the 80% to win the 20%. You can't be all things to all people. Some will like you, but not a lot. Some will hate you, but not a lot. But if you sit on the fence, you're not really going to do anything.
100%.
We sometimes tackle like technical explanations to things, and there is nothing that will piss off a person who's worked at a tech startup than trying to define something that's really defined. And so my boss kind of encourages, he doesn't mind if we piss people off, because at the end of the day, if you're pissing off the right audience, like comments are a conversation, you know? So maybe if I say something that's 80% accurate, I'll get that actually comment, and I'm like, yeah, give it to me. And I'm like, oh, interesting, because you know what, maybe I don't like how they responded to me, but I do need to know what this person is thinking. I do want to know how people feel about this topic. And, you know, unfortunately, it's the internet. You're not going to have a lovely conversation every time, but you can get the information you need out of it.
I think too, like something that I always keep in mind is, you know, you as a brand, you're a part of a team. And like, you know, Ian, for you at a tech company, like you have a lot of really smart people who are building a thing and they have expertise that your average person on the internet probably doesn't have. And I think, you know, some people, they'll see like one video from an influencer, from a, you know, from a creator and think they're an expert and think that they can tango. And they'll drop something and you're like, well, you know, you as a brand can also be like, well, actually. And I think like that's part of it also, is like a lot of people feel emboldened by the little taste that they've gotten of a topic, but like you are the expert on your brand, on your product, on, you know, if it's an industry that you're a leader in or whatever. So I think like having that confidence and using the opportunity to educate and correct what are a lot of times like incorrect assumptions or like just surface level facts that are taken out of context to prove a point. I just think like that's another thing that I see so much of, and that I think a lot of people you know, miss, you know, the opportunity, like, hey, let me set things straight a little bit and keep it totally above board and totally kind, kill them with kindness and with smarts, you know.
Lindsay, do you want to come on and ask your question about UGC, and maybe this could kind of transition into how it relates to social shows, which we can talk about as kind of the last topic here.
I would love to. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hey, so I have a question. Is UGC dead? I am a longtime social media marketer, and back in the day, you would get UGC all the time from real customers, and then you could flip it and use it in content, and it would be the highest performing content that you had. So is it dead? Is it transformed? Are there strategies that you've seen work to get people to post more UGC that then you can turn into content? And I'm not talking from influencers or creators, true fans that just love what you do.
Can I jump in first? Because this is like very fresh. And I think I may have been writing a post. Sometimes I'm like, did I write a post about this or just think about this for a long time? So UGC, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because I remember like back early days social, no brand had a content creator. So you needed to rely on the people who are making content in order to show up in places like Reels and on TikTok. But I actually think UGC, there's two sort of like buckets of it in my mind. There's UGC that is about your brand or product. And I think there's always a place for that, because it's saying something unique and ownable that, you know, can help pull other people into your world. Then there's UGC that's just like the, you know, ancillary topics relevant to your brand. So for example, take like, you know, fitness, if you're a fitness brand, and reposting sort of like relatable fitness content that's like funny jokes or whatever it is, that content, any brand, any fitness brand could repost. And so I think in the same sense of like, you know, when brands kind of chase trends, if you are reposting a lot of UGC content, and if that's where a lot of your reach is coming from, the people who might start following your brand because of that, that's the content that they want to see. And it's not really building anything specific or unique or ownable about your brand. And so when you do end up posting something about your brand, you post like a product video or whatever, no one's going to like that because that's not what they came to you for. They came for the random humor memes that have, or the, you know, the videos, whatever it is. So I think it's kind of similar in that sense. It's like, yes, it can fill your feed. Yes, it can deliver some numbers, but to what end? And is it actually serving and building your brand? And that's definitely something like that's a huge shift from where we were like 5-6 years ago to where we are now. So I think like brands who can invest in in-house content creators, like that's where it's at. Develop that muscle and make that the thing that sort of drives reach and engagement. So yeah, that's sort of my take.
Yeah, I agree. No real bills. I think the introduction of now the repost on Instagram is allowing you to distribute advocates who are talking about your brand in a positive way without you having to go through the time-taking process of curating them, getting approvals, writing copy and captions and getting them out there. I think it's just an evolution of it. It still exists. It's on the platforms regardless, and you're giving it a nudge and a seal of approval, whether it's the sharing in a story, the repost of a reel on Instagram or a TikTok. You have the facility to do that now. That don't just trust us coming from our brand account. This is real people talking about our products and services. And then it just means that your attention can be spent elsewhere, which means that you're winning, or the strike rate of you actually being seen and winning by more people with more content becomes higher.
I'll just say Samantha nailed it because we don't lean on UGC, but we have a content creator.
There we go. There we go. There's a time and a place. A time and a place.
Amazing. Okay. I think we have a little bit of time for a last big topic. I was actually slacking Christine on the side. Let's get this same panel back together in the future. This has been great. We definitely don't have enough time to get to everything, and there's so much more to talk about. But I know one thing that came up on our tech check, and it came up earlier on this call when we talked about trend and meme strategy, is kind of the social TV show phenomenon. We talked a little bit about, or mentioned, Brooklyn Coffee Shop, and there's kind of this roommate content format. It's this rise of almost like mini Netflix quality entertainment on social platforms. So do we see this as kind of a short-lived, shift? Is this something every brand should be doing? How are each of you thinking about that? And this will be kind of the last kind of piece we talk about on today's webinar. But yeah, curious. I'll start with you, Ian, on this. How are you thinking about that? How are you approaching this shift in social?
100% agree. Yes, I think like social these TV show idea is here to stay, because I honestly think of our skits. I never thought of it as a TV show, but it's almost like your weekly comic strip you see in your newspaper, and Brooklyn Coffee Shop's the perfect example of that. And then, like we said with trends before, amazing. You can nail a trend. That's awesome. But what are you doing when there's no trends? Also, if you have your own TV show, it also tells you which trends you should go for. So you really need to know who you are by yourself when nothing is going on. And that is your TV show, your storyline, your character, mascot, playing with a face. So all of those are kind of a version of a TV show.
Like if you look at Saturday Night Live, that's essentially what they do. The writer's room weaves in the news topics of the week that becomes the segments within the show. And that's what's beautiful about this, because everyone mentions Roomies by Built, which is exceptional work, but the fear is everybody just literally takes it and copies the same format. But you don't need to. There are so many ways to create repeatable formats and TV shows that if you just flick your remote control this evening, you will see 100 TV stations with different types of content. Within each of those TV stations, you will see 20 or 30 shows a day, which have different genres, different formats. There is a place and space for you to create this format that becomes memorable, that stands out, that leads with entertainment, that's right for your brand, that has these lovely cues. If you don't have brand assets that exist, build those distinctive assets that become a memorable brand. This really excites me because it means that we have an opportunity to actually build brands again on social after we've just all vomited on trends for the last 2 years. And that makes me really happy. And we talked in the prep call as well that this is kind of one of two areas of social that is probably going to give organic a renaissance moment where it has an identity again, and it has a meaning and has a purpose. One is, I think, the world of repeatable formats, that is this quick entertainment, small burst led content that in between all the competition, finding the right format that people can immediately know that that's you and what I expect in terms of a piece of content, the chances of them stopping are going to be higher, which means you're going to get more memorability and views. The second side then, which is less on TV, it's actually the role of search and social. And that's another space that it is happening. And if you're not preparing for it, you need to have conversations. And if you don't have the capacity to do it, you need to talk to your search team in the business, and they need to up their game, because these platforms are building search infrastructure because the behavior has changed from Google to AI and social too. And if you can optimize some of your content, not all of it, because it doesn't all need to be optimized, content that you want to be discovered, it's going to be searchable. And I'll give you an example. I'm even playing with it on my personal account, where that weird format that went on Instagram, remember that narrow video a couple of weeks ago? And I just made a meme about it around people trying to squinting their eyes looking. But I optimized my caption for that a day after it posted. And I think 80% of the views of that video came from search, not the For You page, not my feed, which means when that became popular, people search for the format ratio. When it then started to index, my meme started to appear within that search term, and it becomes really, really key. And if you think that you can win on social by just making entertainment content, you're missing the gap of what search can do for your platforms too. It's a really exciting time to actually get organic back in business now that people are fatigued by what's happened over the last 2 years. And these are two ways that are going to absolutely smash it out of the park if you put a little bit of thinking and craft into it.
I love that. Social search, that if we get back together, that definitely needs to be topic number one.
I agree.
One thing I'll add on social TV shows is I am so excited about this as a developing space in social, but I think like the thing you have to keep in mind is that the people who are doing it right, they are production teams. They are hiring actors and directors and lighting people and sound techs. And yes, it's made for social, but there's still an investment there. And I think like, yes, not saying it's impossible to create a series that people want to watch fully lo-fi by yourself, but I am excited to see brands invest traditional ad dollars into the production of a show that you run on your channel or on a secondary channel that can probably deliver more eyeballs and engagement than a traditional ad could. So like, yeah, it might cost $100K or $150K for a series or a season rather, but that could be so much more impactful than the millions you might spend on a single commercial.
And it's so scalable too, because I'm working with a client at the moment that we're starting with crafting a repeatable format and a TV style show. We're going to bring in creators who have a long-standing partnership with the brand, not only as characters, but also into the writer's room to write the scripts, fostering that relationship, delivering better content. But the vision we are putting on them to do it, if this gets popular on social, well, then as part of their media pitches to TV broadcasters, their online players or YouTube kind of TV channels, we can potentially extend that short burst show into a fuller, longer format that actually builds brand over time, that's owned by a brand. That's where like the scale of this can get exciting too, which is bloody brilliant. And I absolutely love it. And it means that like brands can bake brands in the right way without a heavy push. The cues and the assets can live and breathe within it without slapping logos on it. And you're leading with entertainment, and you're catering to the needs of why we go on these platforms in the first place, is to be entertained and to escape from the shit show that's going on in the world today, rather than seeing the shit show on your feed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry for cursing too much. I'm Irish, so I'm never really sure if I need to be more PC or not.
This
Not
is a cursing,
on as
a
like a
cursing friendly chat.
sorry.
That was epic. Christina's going to end the webinar here with the t-shirt giveaway and some
Yeah,
more
I love.
housekeeping, but we have to get this group back together. It seems like social search is a topic everybody wants to hone in on for a full hour. So
And
yes,
I have topic number 2, and it's a
yeah.
poll. Should the social media team be recoupled back into the brand and creative department and not be an isolated team of its own?
Oh,
That's one to unpack.
that's
Like-
really good.
There's too much stuff. Okay, we're definitely going to bring this group back together. Join the Slack if you haven't, because we're going to continue the conversation there. And let's give a shirt away with this super high-tech app that
I
Christina
coded this
built.
myself. I vibe coded it. Okay, here we go. Ready? The
Did you do it
winner-
on Lovable?
Yeah, no, I should have though. But the winner is Alexander Reed. Woo, 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 woo. Okay, so Alex, reach out to me on LinkedIn, DM me. I will get your information. Thank you so much for this whole webinar. Everyone in the chat was going wild. We had so many people here. Absolutely, like so much to talk about. Like Eric said, please join us in the Slack. We're going to actually post the questions that haven't been answered, and then you can actually give your own insight into those questions that haven't been answered. We'd love to hear from you. There's a lot of experts, not just actually here as on the panel, but also in the chat as well. Join our next webinar. We have some great guests. We have someone from LinkedIn joining us. Woo, awesome. And then we have a couple other people. So yeah, it's going to be a good chat next month. So make sure to sign up. I think I posted it in the chat, but also make sure to post it in the Zoom, in our Slack as well later. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to our panelists. You were amazing. We're going to definitely do this again with you three because it was so great. And we'll see you all next month, and we'll see you on our community chat. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.